Welcome to the Ingleside Reviews Innovators Unveiled. We're thrilled to take you on a monthly journey into the minds behind the most cutting-edge products hitting the market today. From the coolest gadgets lighting up your Instagram feeds to groundbreaking services revolutionizing our daily lives, we're here to spotlight the innovations and, more importantly, the innovators. So gear up for an energetic and informative ride as we delve deep into the stories, the challenges, and the triumphs of the creative geniuses shaping our future. This is Ingleside Reviews Innovators Unveiled. And now your host, A.D. Edwards.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ingleside Reviews Innovators Unveiled. Please, if you like these episodes, do not hesitate to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and please download our episodes if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, and please don't forget to rate the podcast. Now, what if the difference between a struggling team and a thriving organization wasn't more money, it wasn't more talent, and it wasn't more hours, but it was better leadership? In today's episode, we sit down with someone who's built his entire career on helping leaders unlock clarity, consistency, and growth that last. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner who's tired of spinning your wheels and ready to scale with purpose, you're about to get a playbook that works. Our guest is Nick Edwards, co-founder of 410 Consulting Group and 410 Studios, and also the founder of the nonprofit Impact 320, certified executive coach, and author of Big Dreams, Small Steps. He's here to share the strategies that turn vision into results and leaders into legacy builders. Nick, welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you so much for that introduction, AD. I really appreciate that, and so it means a lot. Honored to be on your show today.
Well, we're really delighted to have you here, and that introduction was very appropriate because you have done a lot of work and you've helped a lot of entrepreneurs. But before we get into the things that you've done, I want to get a little bit about who you are as a person and how you became an entrepreneur in the first place. So, Nick, where are you from, and how did your early experiences shape your views on leadership and business?
Yeah, so currently I live outside of Dallas, lived in this area most of my life. Been married to my wife, Leslie, for later this month will be 23 years. So it's been a great journey. I have an amazing wife, Leslie. She really is a rock star, makes me better in every way. We've got three daughters, and that's why I tell people I am bald and broke for a reason. So it looks like you get the same beautiful haircut I do.
Yes. I have two adult children of my own. And congratulations on the anniversary.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So, you've worn many hats: pastor, police officer, entrepreneur, and executive coach. How did those roles prepare you for the work you do today?
It really has been a journey. You know, our life never looks like we think it should look like. When you're 18, 20, 25, maybe even 30, the life and the journey that you're going on never really looks like what you think it should look like. But how do you see those obstacles and that part of the journey as opportunities to get better, to take your next step and to take the next steps towards what really are your future hopes and goals and dreams? What I tell people is being a pastor, being a police officer, doing some work in education and doing some leadership development there, to be entrepreneur, and what I'm doing now. My joke is there's crazy people everywhere, right? That's just the reality.
Yes.
There's crazy people everywhere. And it's not just that there's crazy people everywhere. There's great leaders and there's really bad leaders in every organization, in every situation, in every stage of life. And what I've learned through this process is how important it is for leaders to be healthy, for leaders to understand what true leadership is, and how we can help them to be better. That has an impact on every single person in every organization.
That's a lot to think about. You mentioned it's important for leaders to be healthy. Now, what's interesting to me is that on LinkedIn recently, I've been seeing more articles on exercise and diet. What part does that play in a leader's life? When you say more healthy, that's a necessity for leaders. Can you expound on that a little bit for us?
Yeah, for me, it means healthy in several different areas of life. Are you spiritually healthy? Are you mentally, emotionally healthy? And are you physically healthy? And you have to have all three of those. We know people who are physically fit. They're the 5% body fat people. That's not me, okay? Just to let you know. Uh, but they have all the physical fitness, but they're lacking some mental strength or they're lacking a spiritual strength. And then there's other people who are great emotionally healthy, but then they look like they can't take care of themselves. And so all three
Hmm.
aspects are needed for there to be a really healthy leader in an organization. And so are you working on all three of those different levels?
That's a good observation. Now, you wasn't always a entrepreneur and a guru, as it were, on leadership. So, how did you become an entrepreneur? Did you start out the gate with your own business as a young guy, or did you have a job somewhere first?
No, I've actually been pastor, been a police officer, worked several different jobs throughout the years. For me, it started about 5 years ago. Went through this process, and I was at a great place in life and career. My job was going great. I was leading a growing, healthy team, and things were really good. And I found myself at a point that I realized I can just get 1% better every year and still be good enough. And through that season, I realized there's nothing pushing me and nothing driving me to be better. And so I actually started meeting with a life coach. I'd gone through therapy and some different counseling throughout life, just dealing with different issues of my own anxiety, my own stress. But I met with a life coach who was giving me some direction and some purpose. And really, his whole goal, I didn't realize at the time, was to ask me hard questions. Who are you? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be in your future? And through that process, realized the best investment that I can make for my future is to invest in me. And if I want to
Uh-huh.
continue to grow and have a growing impact, then I have to invest in me. And that's really what became the catalyst for my own personal growth journey, my own personal life and leadership development that opened up new doors for me to invest in leaders in a new way. And that really was what led me to becoming part of the John Maxwell leadership team.
So, what motivated you to co-found 410 Consulting Group
So
and later 410
So
Studios?
originally, so my main business is My Leadership Coach. MyLeadershipCoach.org is my website. And out of that is where I do all my life coaching, my leadership development, corporate training, speaking at corporate events is under My Leadership Coach. And then as I continue to grow, I wanted to be able to have opportunities to host people and start podcasts like this. And me and my wife started a podcast several years ago called Impact 320, and it was really about how can we impact marriages. So I'm sorry, 410 Studios came out of this idea of how do we help people expand their voice. If you want to be able to expand your territory, you want to be able to expand your influence, the best way to be able to do that is to expand your voice and your voice of influence with others. So we started 410 Consulting Group, which is a partnership between my wife and I, and then we opened up 410 Studios, which is a podcast studio that we have outside of Dallas, where we rent that place out in order for people to share their story, share who they are, what they're trying to do, and really as an opportunity for them to expand their influence.
So, you mentioned a little bit about Impact 320, you and your wife. Tell us about the inspiration behind Impact 320 and how did that mission begin and what legacy are you trying to build through this?
So I have my coaching business. That's My Leadership Coach. We have our studio, which is 410 Studios. And then we have this nonprofit that we lead called Impact 320, impact320.org. This really was the heart of where I started developing leaders. And what I realized is there's an absence of men that are leading well. There's this whole attack on men, attack on the families, and so the idea of Impact 320, impact means to come into forcible contact with something. And what I knew is if you really want to make a change, you're going to have to come into forcible contact. You can't pay patty cake. You can't just do things nice all the time. You're going to have to come into forcible contact with people. And then 320 is Ephesians 3:20 out of the Bible. It says, I can do far more abundantly than all you can ask or think according to the work of the Spirit within you. And just believing that God can do far more abundantly, not just good enough, just not just enough, but far more abundantly. And so Impact 320 has the vision of empowering men, strengthening families, and shaping generations.
Those are good things indeed. Now, as an entrepreneur, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting your own ventures, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, this is always the challenge of getting started, right? And if you're going to be a new entrepreneur, what does it mean to get started? Where do I even go? What does it look like? For me, the biggest hurdle was I began writing a lot about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish. But as an entrepreneur, that was really not selling a product, I was selling myself. That felt counterintuitive. I'm not a person who likes to sell myself and really wasn't even who I wanted to be. So, how did I balance this idea of selling myself as the product? And that was really my biggest struggle is marketing and marketing myself. But then what I realized is I can't just market myself. I have to market the value that I add to people. And how do I go about doing that?
Yeah, that is a challenge. How did you overcome that? How did you market yourself?
Really, I
What
started off by
Because the reason I'm asking is most entrepreneurs, they can't afford a marketing team.
absolutely.
Um, and if they're in a business where they're like a sole proprietor, like you mentioned, you have to market yourself. So what are some of the things that you did to get your name out, to get people to notice who you are, and to understand and appreciate the services you offered?
Well, I would tell what I would tell people is the number one rule of success, and I don't care who's out there. I don't think anybody can argue with me on this one. Feel pretty confident that I know the number one rule for success is you have to get started. You can't have any success if you don't get started, right? Even starting a podcast like yourself, you have to get started for it to continue. So for me to get started meant I offered some free classes. Said, "Hey, I'm gonna offer a 6-week leadership class," offered it for free, invited 8 friends that I knew to be a part of this that are business leaders, church leaders, they're trying to grow themselves. Offer this 6-week class, and they go, "Hey, this was really good. When are you gonna do it again?" And so then I offered another 6-week class, and I offered it for free and said, "Hey, would you invite someone to be a part of this?" And after giving away free, what I realized people understood I was adding value to them. And the most important thing
Right.
is, are you adding value more than what you cost? And the more value you
Yes.
add, the more valuable you become in the lives of other people. And so for me, it was getting started, offering some free things. And then when they realized the value that I was adding, slowly started charging more and more over time.
Yes. And it sounds like you use word of mouth, which is the best marketing, if you ask me. Because if a friend suggests something, you really say, "Okay, I'll try this because I trust my friend."
Absolutely.
So those are good things. Now let's talk about leadership and philosophy. Now you talk about igniting potential, not just coaching. So how do you define the difference between managing people and leading leaders? Because if you're building a leadership class, you're leading future leaders. So how do you differentiate the two? Managing people and leading leaders.
So a lot of times managers have this mindset that they're managing task, not people. And when you manage task, it always gets old. It always gets to the point that what's the point? It's just things. But when you get people to shift their mindset, no, no, you're not managing task. You're not just a manager. You're a leader of leaders. You're a leader of people. It begins to shift their mindset. It comes with a lot more weight. And so when we take on this philosophy that you're not just overseeing tasks only get accomplished, things only get accomplished and move forward if leaders are in place. So how do we help them to have this mindset? This isn't about things, this is about people.
Okay. When it When it comes to leaders, what do high achieving leaders do differently that others often overlook, in your opinion?
Yeah, this has actually been one of my goals for 2025. I think the highest level leaders are great at saying no, and I really struggle with
Explain.
that. Oh, what was that? Go ahead.
Explain.
So
Explain that for us.
I heard this quote back last summer, in July, August of 2024, and it said the difference between millionaires and billionaires is billionaires are great at saying no, and millionaires are good at saying no. Hundredaires and thousandaires, we say yes to everything.
Mm.
And the difference is they know where they want to go. And if it doesn't get them there, the answer is no. So I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm going this direction. And I'm saying yes to get me things that move me there. And I'm saying no to everything else. When we say yes to everything, we actually don't have a purpose and we don't move forward.
So being focused
Absolutely.
is one of the keys.
Yeah. And I think that's what
Okay,
differentiates the highest level leaders from people who are just trying to play the game. When entrepreneurs need to know is not everyone's the right client for you.
true,
And you don't need
true.
to do
What
everything. You need to do what you're best at.
Yes, yes, because yeah, you know what? That makes more sense. You want to be a master of something, not a jack of all trades, as they say, and a master of none. So you know, and that also builds credibility. Um, here's something I've often wondered, and I want to know, in your experience, what are the top 2 or 3 leadership pitfalls that may cause an organization to fail or to stall?
Yeah, I think number one is a lack of clear vision. And the way people use vision and mission, and they kind of use those terms interchangeable. And so what I tell people is vision is where do you want to go? What do you want to be in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Let's define the destination. And so your vision is your destination that what you want to arrive at. If you don't have a clear destination, a clear vision for where you want to be, you're always going to say yes to things that don't move you forward. And so
Mm.
the number one pitfall is people don't know really what they want, where they want to go. So I live in Dallas. If I go to DFW Airport, you don't go pick out a plane based upon the shiniest plane. You don't go pick out a plane going, hey, my friend works for that airline. You pick out the plane that goes to the destination that you want to arrive at. And so we have to know where do we want to go. Most businesses are not extremely clear about what where they want to go and what they want to achieve.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, Thinking about what you're saying, even when I started hosting this podcast, I would get plenty of people who were representing clients that had nothing to do with entrepreneurship.
Mm.
And I had to say no because it had nothing to do with what I was. But some people may say, oh, I need guests, I need guests. And I don't want to lose the focus of what this show is about. So I totally understand what you're saying.
You have a
Now,
vision
you
for what
blend
you want your
corporate.
show to
Oh,
be.
go ahead. I'm sorry, Nick.
Yeah, you have a
Go
vision
ahead,
for
Nick.
what you want your show to be. It's not for everybody.
Yes,
It's for this purpose, for this direction.
exactly. Now, you blend corporate strategy with biblical conviction. How does your faith influence your approach to leadership and decision making?
So for me, one of the things that I just live by is your integrity fights for you in rooms that you're absent from.
Wow.
Your integrity fights for you
Wow.
in rooms that you're absent from. And so,
I like that.
are you who you are you allowing it to fight for you? Is your integrity speaks for yourself? And so, what does that look like? And what does that mean? It means that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Your character is true. Your word is valuable. And when you go and you add value to people, it means more. So, does my integrity fight for me even when I'm absent?
I like that quote, Nick. I like that a lot. Now, in your book, Big Dreams, Small Steps, how do you help leaders move from vision to tangible daily execution?
So this has really been a passion project for me is writing this book. I'm almost at the finish line. I keep on going back and adding things. I'm going, no, no, I got to just finish. Um, but this idea of big dreams, small steps is most leaders don't dream big enough. And so even with your podcast going, "Hey, can we reach 1,000 viewers? Can we reach 10,000? Can we reach 100,000? Can we reach 1,000,000?" And starting off dreaming bigger. What does it mean to dream big for your business, for your life, for your leadership, for your future? And I think way too often people dream way too small. So the first thing we have to ask is, what do you want? What do you want for your future? So let's dream big. Let's ask the question, what do you want? And then why do you want it? Why is that important to you? When you understand what you want and why you want it, it gives you not just the destination, but it gives you the motivation. Simon Sinek's great, his whole book of start with why. And we need to ask the question, why is this important? But I believe that I'm not going to try to trump Simon Sinek. He's done a whole lot of things and he's genius. Uh, but if you start with what do you want and then ask the follow up question, why do you want it? It helps you define the destination and the motivation that goes along with it. And then how are you going to get there? And the thing, how you're going to get there is small steps. You know, every January, everyone has this. I want to lose weight. They have this New Year's resolution, right? They
Right,
know
right,
what they want to do, but they don't know have the motivation to keep them going. And it's not about just losing the 20 pounds, it's about the small steps that get you there. And so most people go, "Okay, that means I need to buy a gym membership. I need to go buy some workout clothes. I need to change my food habits. I need to change what I eat. I need to change all these things." And the list becomes so big that we never get started. But really, maybe the only
right.
thing you need to do is when you get out of your car at the end of the day, walk to the end of the street and back. That's it. You need to start small
So,
by doing something.
so about 2.5 years ago, my doctor told me you have high cholesterol, you pre-diabetic, and you have high blood pressure. So I said to her, "Can I?" Well, she wanted to put me on medication. I said, "Can I try to do this with diet and exercise?" She says, "Okay, I'll give you 60 days. Come back and we see where you are." Immediately, Nick, I told the wife we changed the diet. I already had a gym membership for 2 years prior to this that I never used. But the first week, I put workout clothes out at night so I can get up in the morning and I would go to the gym. The reason I bring this up because this may sound weird. I went to the gym for 2 weeks just to go to the gym. Didn't work out.
Mm.
Went to the gym, walked around, came back home. By week 3, I got on the treadmill, did a little walking, messed around with the weights. But when you talk about 2 years later, I've dropped 38 pounds. I work out 4 times a week. I run, I do everything. But it all started with just the one little thing. And
Absolutely.
so I agree with your philosophy.
Yeah. We make things too complicated and therefore we don't do anything. And so by just
Yes.
going to the gym, actually pulling out the membership card, going, "Hey, I still have a membership card," right? Uh, you
Yes.
can create you can accomplish great things. And what I like to tell people is the adage of, would you rather have $1,000,000 today or a penny doubled for 30 days?
A penny double for 30 days, of
Of
course.
course, but when you start looking at it, you're going, "Okay, that's 1 penny, then 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, 32, 64. I'm a week in and I don't have a dollar bill."
Yeah, but by the end, you got about $3 million.
Well, it's actually 5.3 million.
It's 5.3. I knew it was in the
Yeah,
millions.
but on day 24, it's still at 400,000.
Right.
And so you're going, "Man, I'm still behind." But then things start happening. And I think that's what happens with our businesses. That's what happens in our life. If we just keep going, big things begin to happen. So I always tell people the number one rule for success is you got to get started. the number 2 rule for success is you gotta keep going. You can't quit.
Yes. Persistence and consistency.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Let's talk about organizational growth and strategy. Now, you've worked with million-dollar businesses and large teams. What are the top indicators that an organization is ready to scale? And what strategies ensure sustainable growth?
Yeah, I think these things are true whether it's a new entrepreneur, the business is trying to hit $1 million of revenue for the first time. One of the companies I'm working with right now, their goal is to hit $100 million of revenue this year. And then another goal company is to hit 800 million. So I've got people all the way in from small businesses to huge companies nationwide. And what I realize is it's all based upon the leader's mindset. Does the leader desire to grow? Does the leader say, we're not there yet, we can get better? And I've worked some of my one of my best paying gigs was someone who paid me for a full contract, paid me the whole thing up front, and after the second meeting, the guy quit. Because he said, "No, I don't want you to talk to me about leadership. I just want you to coach my team." And I said, "Well, to coach
Really?
your team, I need to ask some more questions about you and about how you're leading your team. What does your team look like?" And he said, "No, no, no. We're not talking about me. We're talking about them." And what I realized is at that moment, his company hit a ceiling and it was not going to grow until he had a desire to grow himself.
So the leader having a desire to grow is one of the best indicators then.
Absolutely.
When you align teams around a shared vision, because a leader has a vision, and people may come along 2 months in, 8 months in, a year in, and they may not be able to pick up on this vision. So when you align teams around a shared vision, what frameworks or tools do you find most effective to get everyone on board with the vision of the leader?
Yeah, I think what you said there is that consistency and that persistency,
Uh-huh.
that you have to clearly communicate that vision over and over and over and over and over. And when the leader is tired of saying it, people are just not starting to catch it. When you're tired of saying it, they're just starting to actually pick it up. So over and over and over again. So how are you communicating that vision? What does it look like? How do you continually put it in front of your people? And then number 2, I think you have to have the right people around you. Having the right team allows you to go a lot further, a lot faster. That's what culture is. Are you creating a culture where people want to be on this team? Are you actually recruiting people from your competitors because they're going, I want to be a part of what you're doing? When you create this mindset, I'm communicating clearly, I am pushing people towards this goal, and we're creating a culture that people want to be here, they want to be on this team, they want to work here. You start recruiting your competitors, and they're going, "I wanna be on that train," and big things happen.
So when it comes to leadership, what role does clarity play in organizational success? I know you just said you have to repeat, you have to repeat, you have to repeat. But how do you help leaders create when there's chaos that sets in? All kinds of diversions and distractions.
Yeah, so, AD, I don't know about you, but I've just realized that the world is pretty cruel. Would you agree with that at
Yes,
times?
yeah, I do. I agree with that
Yeah, that the
totally.
world is cruel, and here's why I think the world is cruel. I think the world is cruel because we live in a constant state of chaos, and we live in a constant state of chaos that creates a lot of confusion. So I don't know how to win at home. I don't know how to win at my job. I don't know what the boss wants from me. He always changes what he's expecting from me, and that chaos and confusion leads to cruelty. It's the person who gets on
Mhm.
Facebook and complains about the person who wouldn't let them in when they're trying to get on the highway that morning, and that
Yes.
same person complains that, "Why is this person trying to cut me off on the highway trying to go home," right? Because we're always in a state of confusion, and the answer for confusion is more clarity. I think one of the things we have to do with that is make sure that we're speaking other people's languages, and so
What do you mean by that, Nick? speaking other people's
One of the
languages?
best resources I use is a DISC personality assessment. There's a Myers-Briggs, there's Enneagram, there's all these different resources, but I think the thing about the DISC assessment that is best is it's simple. People do things they can understand. People do simple things. The DISC assessment allows people to understand how everybody communicates differently. So, for a high D, that's a CEO type mentality. They are driven, they want one, two, let's move on. For the I personality, that's your sales team. They are big personalities. They like telling stories. They like everyone to love them. And so you got to speak a different language to them. They want to be able to tell stories.
Mhm.
The S personality type is looking for steady, stable, predictable environments. And so you have to make environment and you have to communicate with them in such a way that never feels like conflict. And then your C
Mhm.
is your CFO. They are data, analytical, details. They want to ask another 100 questions before they come up with a solution. When you know what everyone's language is, and you can speak everyone's language to them and not expect them just to speak your language, you begin to create a clarity that everyone can move in the same direction.
Great, great, great. Now, many leaders, especially when they're new, leading their own team or leading themselves as an entrepreneur, they struggle with consistency. What strategies do you recommend for keeping teams or individuals motivated and aligned with their long-term goals?
Yeah, here's what I like to ask people. Did you brush your teeth this morning?
Yes.
You, you actually remember brushing your teeth, or you just assume that you did because you do that every day?
Oh, I remember brushing my
Oh,
teeth. I remember it. I've actually brushed my teeth 3 times today. So
very
I
good.
went to the dentist yesterday, and so I'm like really, you know how that goes. As soon as you leave the dentist, you're on top of it. But the answer is yes, and I do remember.
M- Most people would just say, yes, I brush my teeth because that's what I do every day. I brush my teeth, I put on deodorant, I take my medicine in the morning. Those are the things I do. But I don't remember I did them because you're on autopilot.
Okay.
Consistency is what things can you put in your life that create autopilot. When I walk into my office in the morning, usually I get here really early in the morning. I'm usually here between 5 and 5:15. I don't wonder what I'm going to do first thing in the morning. I have a routine. And so when you begin to automate things, when this happens, when I have a lull in my day, when I know I have more than a 30-minute break, I know this is what I go to next. So systems create time. Time is money, and money creates opportunity. Consistency is all about, are you building a system that allows you to automate? This is what I do next. If I don't know what I do, this is what I do.
Hmm. I like that. A system put things in place, and some things become automatic, and that helps you be consistent with it. The system leads to consistency.
Yeah.
I'm trying to break down these things you say, these tidbits, because you put them together, you have a nice little plethora of things that can help you advance your organization.
Yeah. And so what I tell people is systems equal time, right? The better your systems, the more time you save. So if you're an entrepreneur, you have either time or money, and usually not both, right? And the more money you have, maybe the less time you have. So you have to create things that produce more time. Systems equal time, time equals money, and money isn't the goal. Money is just an opportunity.
Yes. Now, speaking of money, how do you help organizations measure leadership effectiveness beyond financial metrics?
So one of the things that I do is I don't have any goals for companies. I have no vision for your
Really?
company. I have no goals for
Be-
their company.
because you want the leader of the company to have the vision.
Yeah. So I take them through the process and help pull that out of them, help unpack it for them, help them go through some strategies and a bunch of questions to go, what's your vision? And so through that, clarify that question again for me. I want to make sure I sound
So, how do you help organizations measure
oh,
leadership
yeah,
effectiveness beyond the money, beyond the financial metrics?
right.
Because a lot of companies, well, I won't say a lot of companies, smaller companies, businesses, they feel that money, how much profit they make is the indicator of their effectiveness. So, how do you help organizations measure leadership effectiveness beyond financial metrics?
So I think you have to define the results that you want. It's a little bit of defining the destination. And we have to make sure that they see people and task get the results that you want. So people plus systems equals results. What results do you want and how do you have the people to get you there? We have to move past dollars to measuring behavior. Right now, one of the companies I'm working with, they're they have growth, but they're not hitting the results that they wanted to financially just because of where the market is right now with their industry, they're not there. So what we're doing is we're creating systems and we're helping them to strengthen behaviors because the behaviors lead to financial growth in the future. So if you're hitting your numbers, but everyone wants to quit and everyone wants to leave, what's that going to be look like in next quarter?
What's the point? Exactly.
So let's create the
Exactly.
behaviors and the culture that even when the numbers are down, they are leading and they're building something that's gonna end up having great results. It's the pennies.
Right. Breakout. For entrepreneurs listening who may feel m- more like they don't know where to start, and I know you say you have to begin, what do you think is the first small step you'd have them take even today?
You have to begin to clarify what do you want and dream for it. Okay, so I'm brand new, I'm just starting off. I'm thinking about starting this new business. What do I see that this business could be in 1 year? Where could I dream that could be in 1 year? Not just 10 years out there, but just 1 year. If I really go after this, what would I like it to be in 1 year? And then clarify what's one step that moves me in that direction. Just one. Don't overcomplicate it. Find one thing that moves you forward. And then I would tell you, learn, go ask questions, go buy people's lunch, go ask other leaders, can I take you to lunch and just pick your brain? And then when they give you some advice, follow up with an email 2 or 3 weeks later saying, "Hey, thank you for recommending that book. I learned so much from that book. Here's one thing I took from it. Do you have any other thoughts?" So
Right.
you're saying, "You gave me advice. I took your advice. I began to apply your advice. What's your next step of advice?" When you take people's advice, they want to invest in you more.
So, again, for those who are listening or watching, what's one leadership habit that you personally practice, Nick, that a listener or viewer can start today?
Yeah, this has really been a core of who I am and who I want to be. It's really 2 things that I want to do every single day, no matter what the situation is, no matter where I am, no matter who I'm meeting with. Every day, I want to learn something new. And I think a lot of times we get to the point that we stop learning. And if you stop learning, you stop growing. I don't know about where
Yes.
you are, and you're probably close to my age. I remember back in, like, elementary school, there was all these posters in the library that readers are leaders.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
when you stop learning, you stop growing. So every day I want to learn something, and every day I want to add value to someone's life. And it's
Yes.
all about, can I learn, add value to my life, and 2, add value to every conversation and every interaction that I have with someone else. And when you start doing that, people are people begin to gravitate to you because you are
And
getting
it costs
better and you
nothing. It
make
costs nothing to start doing that.
that's right.
How can leaders balance personal growth with the pressures of running a business?
Oh, man, this is tough, right? This is the
Yes.
tough of how to work in my business, on my business. How do I balance life, leadership, family, business, all these things? And it just seems so overwhelming. One of my favorite things is from John Maxwell. And John Maxwell, I was at a conference with him and I got to be a part of this small group that got to ask John some questions. And this lady stood up and said, "John, I've got a question." And John Maxwell, if you've ever been around him, he just He's written over 100 books, part of the John Maxwell leadership team now, and he just throws up wisdom. And this lady stands up and says, "John, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm starting a new business. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm all of these things. How do I balance it?" And he said, "Balance is a myth. Balance is a lie. You can't balance it. You have to be fully in where you are." So we think that balance looks like this quick squiggly line back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But what it means is go all in here and all in here. When you're home, be all in at home. When you're at work, be all in at work. And don't try to do everything, because if you're trying to go back and forth, you're at home thinking about work. And when you're at work, you're thinking about home, and everything falls. So be all in where you're all in.
Gotcha. Understood. Now, in your courses, you emphasize solution-based thinking. What's one real example where reframing a problem unlocked major progress for a client?
So one of the illustrations I use is helping clients to see past A and B. I have a coin over here on my desk, and what I tell people is we look at solutions as heads or tails, A or B, one or two, and that's the only two options there are. And then I pull out of a dice, and I say sometimes we have to get past one or two to get to four, five, or six. But then we realize 4, 5, and 6 are better answers. They're not the best. And then I pull out this 12-sided dice and go, you know what? We got to get to 10, and 10's actually the answer. So solutions-based thinking is moving past A or B as the only option, black or white, right or left, heads or tails, and going, how do we move past this to option 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12? And then we go, okay, we agree on number 11 is the best. How do we begin taking steps towards that? And the solution is getting past simple answers to the next possible answer.
Would you say that's something like what people would call thinking out of the box?
Yeah. And everybody lives in a box. Every business lives in a box. A box is the constraints that you live with. There's financial constraints, that's part of your box. Your network, your circle of influence is part of your box, but utilizing everything in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Get all the
Yep.
way to the corners.
Exactly. So, Nick, when working with different business owners, how do you, first of all, do you believe there's a difference between working in the business and working on the business?
Yeah, I think this is where most small business owners get stuck. They are really
How
good.
do you, not to cut you off, but you do believe there's a difference. So, my question is, how do you help them separate the two?
So here's the question I ask for them: are you working for today, or are you working for tomorrow? When you're working in the business, you're just working for today. When you're working on the business, you're thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about next week, next month, next quarter, next year. So many small business owners are really good at their trade. They're a plumber, they're an HVAC, they're a construction guy. They're really good at their trade, and they only do things for their trade. But when you think about working on your business, you're thinking about, how do I build my business that is for next month, next quarter, next year?
Mhm. And that's great because you're thinking long term. And with that in mind, I know in your courses you've also spoken about creating movements that outlive you, outlive the person. Nick, what does that look like for your own career in life?
And yeah, I'm gonna share with you some that feels kind of weird, and it feels a little arrogant. Okay, but I need you to hear my heart through this. Okay, um,
I feel this is going to be a good one. I can't wait to hear what you're about to say. Go
it
ahead,
kind
Nick.
of sounds crazy, and I really have thought through this a lot, and even shared it with my wife and a couple of really close friends who really can ask me some hard things in life. And I said, I have this goal that seems really strange, and you can tell me if it's arrogant, you can tell me if it's whatever, but I have a goal that I will never know if I accomplish this goal. But the goal is to have 10,000 people at my funeral.
Wow.
Okay, and you go, oh dang,
Okay.
that sounds arrogant.
No,
That's
I
my
don't think
thing.
it's arrogant. I'm just I'm wondering why. Why is that a goal?
Because I want to have such an impact on people's life that I'm was so invested in who they are and helping them to be better that they go, that man impacted my life, my future, and my kids. I've got to take off a day to go honor that man. Not
Okay.
honoring me today, but they see the impact that I had on their life. And so, how do I live every single day that I'm impacting people's future? I am impacting their business today. I'm impacting their marriage. I'm impacting their kids, and I'm helping them to live a legacy that's bigger than themselves. And the way I do that is by investing in others.
Sounds good to me. See, it didn't sound crazy at all.
It's a little bit different
It
perspective, though,
sounded
right?
I was about to say it sounded different, but not crazy because you can't really judge. You want to know the reason why. What's the motivation? And it's motivated by helping others that they, in turn, show appreciation. You've given that much help to so many people that they say, "Wow, I really appreciate what he's done for me." So yeah, that makes sense. Now, how do you see leadership evolving over the next decade, especially when it comes to changes in technology and in culture? Or do you think that will impact leadership at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to, right? We have to see the impact that it's gonna make. Um, I think leaders have to embrace, like, technology. They can't be scared of it. I think there's people that are kind of on both ends of the spectrum. I'm full in or I'm full out on technology, and even think there's this little bit of paradox that the more we use AI and technology, the less we trust it, which feels weird for a lot of people.
Mhm.
For leaders, I think we can embrace it and create boundaries for it. But I think what leaders are going to have to do is they cannot lose the human touch. No matter what technology is out there, there's something about shaking another man's hand, having a conversation, asking them about their life, asking them about their kids. And the best leaders are going to be the people who make people feel wanted, who make people
Mhm.
feel like you matter to me, and
Yes.
there's technology is always gonna work to become human, but there's always gonna be a coldness to it. It's gonna be a fake. So, the best leaders are gonna make people feel warm and welcome and wanted and have a personal connection. And I think no matter where technology goes, that's gonna be a valuable part moving forward.
So, what role do you feel family and personal legacy play in how you personally define what success is?
Yeah, for me, I tell business owners a lot, if you win in business and lose at home, you still lose.
I agree.
So
I agree.
if you are selling your soul to win in business at the expense of your spouse and your kids, you're giving up a future. And so your future is about how do you first lead at home? How do you have the integrity and character in your home and allow that to spill over into your business and allow them to want to be a part of your business? Does your spouse want to see you succeed because they see you as going somewhere together?
Mm. So, you've seen a lot of leaders, a lot of entrepreneurs in your line of business, coaching and starting foundations that deal with leadership and having courses. If you could change one common misconception that entrepreneurs may have about leadership, what would that be?
That you have to have all the answers. No one has all the answers,
Even the greats
even the
didn't
great.
have all the answers.
Yeah, and if you want better answers, you gotta ask better questions, and you can't be afraid to ask questions. You can't have all the answers before you get started. Sometimes you just gotta go to the plate and start swinging for the fences, and all of a sudden you go, "Dang, I hit one. That was amazing. Let's try that again." And you got
Yes.
it. You have to get over the fear that you have to have all the answers to keep going.
Just learn as you go.
Abs
That's what life is like, right?
Yeah. Learn a little through a little.
It's been great having you on the show today, Nick. I have one last question for you, and you've kind of answered this in telling me how many people you want at your funeral. But here's the question anyhow. at the age of, let's say, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what would you want your legacy in leadership and entrepreneurship to be? And what are you doing today to get there? What are you doing right now to get those 10,000 people at your funeral?
Yeah, I wish I was a lot closer to that than, where I am, but it's every day. It's every day learning something, adding value to someone. I have some big dreams and some things I wanna accomplish, some stages that I want to step on, some impact that I wanna have on a local, a statewide, a national stage that I wanna dream big and I wanna go after big things. And so what I want it to be in 10 years is that I'm impacting people that are leading people. And so I want to be someone who's adding value to people every day. And I want to be able to add value to people who are the highest level leaders who are impacting the most amount of people.
Mm, I like that. I like that. Once again, Nick, thank you for coming on the show. Very insightful. We talked about a lot of things, but I do want you to tell the listeners and viewers about your website again, about your programs, and about any books or anything else that you have. Right quick. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you can find more information at myleadershipcoach.org. And you can find me on Facebook at the same place, Instagram under My Leadership Coach. I really want everything I do is about guiding leaders to greater results. I don't expect people to have all the answers, but I do want to help people uh, grow in their communication, clarify their vision, and overcome the obstacles in order to achieve the results that you've always dreamed that were possible. You just didn't know how to get there. You can go to myleadershipcoach.org and be able to schedule a free call. I'd love to be able to connect with you and help you to take the next steps in your life, leadership, and business.
Thanks again, Nick.
Man, AD,
So,
I really appreciate
go
you,
ahead.
appreciate what you do for this, and appreciate just the investment that you're making in entrepreneurs and helping them to be better in the process.
Thank you, Nick. It's my pleasure. It's a passion of mine.
I can see
Thanks for
that.
having you on the show. Now, for you listeners and you viewers, that was Nick Edwards showing us that true leadership is about clarity, consistency, and building a legacy that outlives us. From launching consulting firms and nonprofits to winning and writing big dreams, small steps, Nick's journey is proof that when leaders align vision with execution, transformation happens. If today's episode inspired you, be sure to check out Nick's work at myleadershipcoach.org and his nonprofit at impact320.org. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and rate this podcast. And as always, keep innovating, keep creating, and never stop unveiling the innovator in you. Until next time, I'm your host, A.D. Edwards, signing off.
You've been listening to Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled. Our passion is to take you on a journey into the minds behind the most cutting-edge products hitting the market today. It's an honor to have on the show the creative geniuses shaping our future. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. Hit our website at inglesidereviews.com. On Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Ingleside Reviews. And on Twitter at Ingleside Review. See you next time.